Good evening and welcome to Roxboro Community School and to our first ever Future Voters Forum. I'm pleased to see both many familiar faces and some new faces in the building tonight as well. For those of you who are visiting us for the first time, I hope that you will come back soon and let us take you on a tour of our historic cotton mill. And for our familiar faces and loyal supporters, we thank you for joining us tonight, and we are pleased to report that our 9th year is off to a dynamic beginning. We have reached full capacity, opening school with just over 700 students this year, plus more on our waiting list. Our capital campaign is beginning soon to restore the final section of our historic cotton mill to full functionality by adding a gymnasium, a multi-purpose room, and additional fine arts space. Our first cohort of AP Academy students are off to a very strong start, studying diligently and also planning for their first community service project. And it is their desire, that type of desire to persevere and to excel and to give back to their community that gave this school its grassroots beginning, and that same spirit that allows us to continue to thrive today. Our students here are a shining example of why we should be so proud to live in Person County. Their inner drive to serve their community makes them here and abroad, and that same ambition is on display tonight. Our own 11th grader, Clay Fox, has been volunteering with the Person County GOP, where his passion for politics has blossomed. This forum was in fact born from his volunteer experience there. We appreciate tonight the candidates from both political parties that were willing to come together to educate our students on the power of the vote in a democratic society. We thank you, and we thank our sponsors, Golden Corral and DATCO. And at this time, I would like to invite Clay Fox to the podium to kick off this special evening. Thank you.
Hello. Hello. My name is Clay Fox, and I would like to discuss with you the importance of voting. If you are not already registered to vote, I would like to invite you to register to vote at my table over there. In 1606, 104 would-be colonists met to elect a leader that would decide the future of their ambitious project to colonize the New World. That vote determined the fate of not only their lives, but of the entire colonization effort of British North America. Jumping to 1775, we see at the Second Continental Congress, where voting signified defiance against tyranny and paved the way to American independence. Over history, elections have signified the basic human right of speech, and that such value of the individual is not experienced everywhere. Throughout history, we can see that only the most feeble of empires have not respected the process of voting. But we, as Americans, are a living testament that the success of a powerful nation is achieved by the people of that nation's involvement in its democratic systems. And only through continuing that process can we hope for a government that holds the core values of its people. And yet, even as the importance of voting is as more important as any transparency era, voter turnout is dropping. Why is voter turnout dropping? Is it because we are too busy? Or because we don't care? Maybe because we don't feel as if our single vote is important. The answer is all of these. As a country, we have forgotten that every vote counts. The youth of this country have forgotten the principles of which this country was established on. The Census Bureau reported that from 2008 to 2012, young adult voter turnout dropped by 14%, and it is expected to drop every election year afterward. And all of this is our fault. My generation and those after me have not been shown the importance of voting. It has been nearly completely removed from our lifestyle. If not for my grandmother, Mizelle Hicks, who is here today, I would not nearly be involved in politics as I am now. That shows that it takes only one family member to get our young people to show interest in the electoral process. However, it is not just our young people who need to understand that every vote matters. For example, in 1948, Harry Truman, if he had lost just one vote from every electoral precinct in the state of Ohio, he would have lost the 25 electoral votes that Ohio provided, and that would have cost him the election. As President Truman said best, it's not the hand that signs the laws that holds the destiny of America, instead is the hands that cast the ballot. My conclusion is that voting is a privilege, and this privilege is craved by others, and we owe it to the past, the future, as well as those who wish they had the right to vote, that we should vote. It is our duty as Americans to vote, and I think we can all agree on that. Thank you. I would like to introduce our student moderator, Ms. Anderson Clayton.
Thank you, Clay. Hello all, my name is Anderson Clayton and I'm a senior here at Roxboro Community School. I want to welcome you all and thank you for taking the time to visit with us tonight. We hope to have an insightful and enjoyable evening. My classmates that are joining me here tonight are attending to learn more about their most important civic responsibility, voting. This is the one time in an adult's life he or she has the opportunity to influence government in a positive way through voting. My thanks to each one of the candidates for joining us and sharing their perspectives on what can make our community and state a more productive environment that serves all citizens. At this time, I would like to invite Mr. Kendrick forward to begin our introductions.
Nothing like being first, is it? My name's Tracy Kendrick. I'm 50 years old. I've lived in Person County almost all my life. 4 years of my life was spent in the Marine Corps. Traveled around the world, but most of it's been here in Person County. I got to looking around at Person County politics and wasn't real happy with the way things were going, in my opinion. So that's the reason that I started getting involved in politics in Person County, excuse me, and threw my name in the hat to run for county commissioner. I hope that you guys will get out and vote, and I hope that when you do go vote, that you'll vote for me, Tracy Kendrick. My wife and my two sons, my sister, my mother-in-law and father-in-law are all here, and I hope that you'll walk up and speak to them when it's all over with. But most of all, when you go to vote in the fall, I hope you'll vote for Tracy Kendrick for County Commissioner. Thank you.
Sorry about that. I didn't catch that part of that. I want to thank RCS for hosting this tonight, and I think it is very important that the young folks in this school took this on as a challenge. All of us have to get a start somewhere. I started my career in political, and at the time I never even dreamed of it. I started in the 6th grade as student council president, and I learned parliamentary procedure. The only place that I've ever had parliamentary procedures when I took FFA in middle school. So that is the start, and y'all have already got a great start towards it. I have been in law enforcement now for 27 years, and during my tenure as sheriff so far, I've had a lot of successes. For one, I actually was appointed by the Speaker of the House, Joe Hackney at the time, to serve on the Domestic Violence Commission, which was a great honor, and I also currently serve. I was appointed to the Sieging Commission, which represents all of North Carolina's law enforcement on our criminal information exchange. And that is my time. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Mike Woodard, and it's always a great pleasure to be here at Roxboro Community School. As your state senator, I have fought hard to protect those things that Person County citizens value. A strong education that serves our children and respects our teachers. Protections for our family farmers and timber growers. economic development that helps our small businesses and brings new jobs, fair pay and retirement for our state employees, and clean air and water as co-author of the legislature's toughest coal ash cleanup bill. But many politicians in Raleigh have fought against our values the last 4 years. But I've stood strong in the face of this adversity, remaining your effective advocate in the General Assembly for more jobs, better education, and an improved quality of life. In the upcoming November 4th election, choose strong, effective, experienced leadership. I respectfully ask for your vote for re-election to the North Carolina Senate.
Good evening. I'm Donald Long. I'm 57 years old, and as someone once said, I won't boast about my opponent's youth and inexperience. It is indeed a pleasure to be back on the campus of Roxboro Community School. I was pleased to have a small part, along with many, many others, in getting the RCS project off the ground. I had the pleasure to serve as an original board member, serve as its first chairman of the board, and to be honored as chairman emeritus upon my retirement. And needless to say, I'm very proud of the Roxboro Community School family. As we move along in this campaign, we are amazed by the reception and message that we hear every day from citizens just like you. The momentum and excitement of this campaign is tremendous, and we are on our way towards building a better future for Person County. Be sure to continue to follow our campaign as we enter the final weeks, and I hope you will consider casting one of your votes for me to represent you as your county commissioner.
Hello, I'm Larry Yarbrough, and I want to thank you all for having this great forum. I have a relationship with this school. I was there when we went to Raleigh to get the charter. I signed my name on the line to borrow the money to finish the building. My children all went here, and my wife still serves on the board. I'm so proud of all the people that have made this school such an asset to our community. I'm working on another project that I think will be a great asset to our community. If I'm elected to be your representative, I will use my experience and accomplishments to help benefit us from Raleigh. And I do have experience and accomplishments. I've had a college degree in chemical engineering. I've worked in the space shuttle program, paper mills, Dacron plants. As a small businessman, I've built buildings and built businesses and created jobs. And I will use this experience and these accomplishments to benefit our community. Please vote for me. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Herman Joubert, and I am your conservative Republican candidate for North Carolina Senate District 22, and I am first and foremost a servant and follower of my Lord Jesus Christ, and I want to give him honor this evening. I want to also honor my lovely wife that's with me this evening, and one of 9 of our children. We also have 12 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild. So what I'm asking of you tonight is that you would support me in November as the people's candidate, the people's conservative candidate. I want to serve you in Raleigh. I want to be your voice, loud, clear, and consistent. I want to be accessible, accountable, and responsible to you, the people. Thank you so much for inviting me to this teachable moment.
My name is David Brooks. Unlike most of the candidates you hear, a lot of people talk about, well, David doesn't have experience of anything. Well, I'll tell you this much. Back in I'll take you back a little bit about me. Back in 1977, I was in the entertainment world, which was in the boxing world. Not only I'm the only American that defeated the Canadian of when we had Fella Stevenson. the best person in the world in Quebec, Canada. And bottom line is, I'm David Brooks. I have a lovely family here in Person County. I'm here because I want to see things done right. We have extremely too much break-ins, too much activity going on that's in Person County that's destructing the good people that live in Person County. The cases are not being solved. This is why I'm trying to be on the Sheriff Department to help you protect your safety, your property, and to make sure that we can solve problems, more than one problem. Thank you very much. Vote David Brooks, please.
Good evening. My name is Kyle Preer, and I'm running for county commissioner. And since all the other commissioner candidates gave their age, I am 34. First, I'd like to thank the community school for hosting this event. This school is a valuable asset to our county. I actually serve on one of the Raise a Roof committees, and I personally seen the value that this school brings to our community. I'm running for re-election because I want to continue to serve as a conservative voice for the Board of County Commissioners. I love this county. I was born and raised here. I was recently married, and I'm going to here. Over the years, I have made decisions on how to make Person County a better place to live. However, there are many challenges facing this county, and I want to continue to be a part of the solution. Over the next 4 years, I will keep jobs, funding our schools, and public safety a top priority while keeping a watchful eye over your tax dollars. Those are the same priorities that I had 8 years ago when I was first elected, and they are the same today. On November 4th, I ask for your vote for County Commissioner. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Deborah Barker. I am your Clerk of Superior Court for Person County. I have served as Clerk of Superior Court for Person County since December of 2003. I was appointed by Superior Court Judge Osmond Smith, and then I ran in the following election. I am running unopposed this year, and I am blessed to say that, and I do appreciate your confidence and allowing me to serve as your clerk. I was born and raised in Person County and Caswell County. We slept in Person County and milked cows in Caswell County. However, but I have called Person County home, and it is a delight to be here tonight. I'm very impressed with the young people here at Roxboro Community School making an effort to bring this forum, and I am honored to be part of it, and thank you very much.
My name is Jason Torian, and I'm running for County Commissioner, and like everybody else, I'll give my age. I'm 32 years old, so I'm the young, vibrant candidate in the race. I'm from Person County, born and raised. I went to Person High School. I'm young, but I'm not so young that RCS was here, so only Person was here when I was in high school. So when I was a kid, I was definitely one of the quiet kids in school. I knew I wanted to live here, and I knew I wanted to make a difference in the community. That's why I started a business here. That's why I've been politically active here for the last 12 years. I can't believe that's 30 seconds already. that's why I volunteer at my son's school. And again, in high school, I was one of the more nervous people when it came to speaking in public. And I'm probably one of the more nervous people up here tonight. But I'm here because regardless of nerves, what happens on November 4th matters. And I'm not willing to sit back on the sidelines, keep my fingers crossed that who gets elected is going to do the right thing. So, I care about the community. I have a clear understanding for what it's going to take to get us where we want to go. I know one of my votes is going to be on November 4th for Jason Torian. I hope one of yours will be as well. And I'll be listening to everybody else because I got two, just like you.
Well, I guess I'm the youngest up here. I'm 31. So we had a contest, I guess I won. Someone asked me that I grow my goatee to look older, but I like the sheriff started in school. I was elected in 6th grade as sergeant at arms. I beat out 6 girls for that position. I serve as president of FFA, and I'm very fortunate and honored to serve currently as your county commissioner, vice chair to the board, first person county commissioner to ever serve as president of the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, and the first commissioner from North Carolina to ever serve as chair of the Rural Action Caucus, which covers about 2/3 of about 3,069 counties. So I just like many other candidates, thank you all for having this forum. It is very important for our youth to get involved, as Clay said earlier, and I'm just so honored to be here and honored to serve you.
Good evening. My name is Wallace Bratcher, and I'm your elected district attorney. I am running unopposed this year, so I'll try not to talk too long tonight. I think I'm going to win. I graduated first in my class from South Granville High School, top 10 at East Carolina University. Went to Campbell University School of Law, where I was on the national trial team. Served in the North Carolina National Guard. I earned my commission as a second lieutenant in the United States Army Air Defense Artillery. Have served with soldiers from United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, South Korea. I served as a defense attorney for 20 years. I am married with 7 children. In fact, my son Nick graduated here a couple years ago, Nick Bratcher. My oldest is an art education teacher. Number 2 daughter is second-year law at Liberty University. Nick is starting his sophomore year at NC State. Have 2 in high school, 1 in 8th grade and 1 in 2nd grade. So over the next 4 years during my next term, my number 1 priority, as I've said many times, is to work hard to keep the people of Person County safe, and in particular, to make Person County a safer place for our children to grow up. Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to the debate. Thank you.
We're now going to begin our questions of the evening. First will be Ms. Barker for Clerk of Court position. Your question: what are your goals for improving the service of your office during the next 4-year term?
Thank you. My goals is always to improve customer service with the clerk's office. As you know, the clerk's office and its duties are actually spelled out in general statutes. My duties as clerk, elected clerk, are those that are judicial as well as clerical, and the responsibility of maintaining records and being the custodian of those records and evidence. We need to be able to continue to provide good service to the people of Person County. And I am an estate officer. However, I serve the people of Person County. There are 99 others across the state that are elected by the county, but we are state officers. So far, the biggest thing that has affected us, as you well know, has been the budget cuts that we have taken place in state government. When I became clerk in December of 2003, I had 15 staff members, 2 assistants, and 13 deputy clerks. We have lost 3 positions since that time, and it has the workload has not decreased. Our workload has increased. And so with that, we have been able to maintain our current standing with all of the filings that continue to take place with the judicial system, as well as an increase in those filings and with less staff. So far, my staff and I have met that challenge, which is one I'm very proud of. Just to say some of the things that the clerk's office does, in the judicial part of it, as a judge of probate, that is just one of the many hats that I wear. We handle guardianships, incompetencies, name changes, adoptions, foreclosures, arrest and bail, claim and delivery hearings, judicial sales, partitions of land, I have powers of contempt, the power to issue warrants, initial appearances, and 96-hour hearings. We have other responsibilities in that office other than judicial, but it falls under the realm of being the clerk. We issue all subpoenas that are issued within the court system, civil and criminal. We maintain the judgment docket. Those of you that check your credit report, they get that information from my office. We issue summons for civil actions. Thank you. We are the custodian for evidence submitted in trials. We also are the custodian for minors' monies, when minors receive monies from estates and or insurance dispositions. We nominate the candidates for magistrate, and we also compile the juror list, which is something each and every citizen does in the state of North Carolina, which is at some point in time to be called as a juror. So those are just a few of the things and few of the hats that I wear. Thank you.
Next, we will have District Attorney, Mr. Bradsher. How would you prosecute a case in which a teenager was texting and driving and accidentally killed someone?
Thank you. We have a program called Redemption. Over the last 3 years, we've worked hard at attacking the violent crime in Person County to make our citizens safer. And we've sent over 450 people to prison that were habitual offenders, removed them from the county for over 5 years. That was a start. I'm more proud about the over 200 kids that have gone through our redemption program who had their first brush with making a mistake or committing a crime and going through a deferred prosecution program to where they get a second chance. We have to burn the candle at both ends. Remove the repeat habitual offenders that make us unsafe, but we have to go after our young people and seek redemption so they get that second chance. Otherwise, we just grow a generation of felons where they have no hope. Once they get that first felony, job prospects are very limited. So, the specific example that I was given, texting and driving and someone gets killed, is probably one of the hardest things we have to face in the justice system, because a negligent act that causes the death of another is a misdemeanor death by motor vehicle. We try in our deferred prosecution program to go at the heart of the problem. The victim would be at the table, the victim's family. But you would be surprised that when you get the victim's family at the table, especially when it's a loss of life from an automobile accident, and it involves a young person, victims and defendants seem to come together because all young people have made a mistake. So in that particular context, with consultation from the family, we would probably do some type of disposition, perhaps a deferred prosecution, where that person went through driving school, education, impact programs. Solid Jeffers is here and has been a part of them. Y'all have seen the prom preparation. Having that person first go get impact sessions and learn how important it is not to put people on the highway at risk. But on the other hand, once they go through that process, that young person can be a valuable spokesperson to other kids to say, don't do this, don't text and drive. I did it, and I killed somebody. And when you have one child talking to other children, all I can tell you, that's powerful. That creates change, and it creates a culture where we can get kids to make the right decisions. They all help each other make the right decisions, and ultimately, the roads are safer. Thank you.
Next, we will have the candidates running for sheriff. And we'll start with Mr. Brooks and then go on to Sheriff Jones. What steps can be taken to prevent repeat offenders?
I've always said that if we deal with crime head up for the first offense, make people accountable, punish people for making foolish acts, especially when it's an act that could be controlled by himself or herself. So, per se, if an individual decides to walk into your store and steals the Coca-Cola, as little as it sounds or as small as it may be, if we would punish that individual, instead of telling them it's okay because your daddy paid $50 in the court cost and send them back home, they would not make it to the repeat area. So it's going to be evident to everyone that we've got to stiffen the punishment. And everybody say, you know what, maybe he's just cold, but it's not true. When somebody violates you, breaks into your property, and you see them go to court, beats you back home from a jail bond, then only spend 15 days in jail because he or she could afford it. That's a repeat offender. He's done the act again. I'm telling you, I say to everyone, to Mr. Bratcher, we must stop playing. I believe in the redemption, but we must stop playing with people, and we got to send a strong message that we're not going to tolerate this in Person County, and we'll keep repeat offenders outside the walls of Person County if that message is sent by our DA. If our sheriff's department examine every break-in carefully and pick up the right person for the break-in. I don't have facts of it, but we have people that tell me all the time. It was an interesting thing. Mr. Jones said tonight, everybody starts somewhere. And I started several years ago looking at crime because I'm tired of seeing repeat offenders, our drug users, our drug sellers, every year in the same newspaper, being caught over and over and over again. Well, if we would punish that person, because all of them are repeats, with a stiff punishment, they would be out of our society for a long period of time. And that's where I stand. It's to stiffen the punishment instead of going with the bare minimum. Let's make sure that we give a punishment that sends a signal around the world. You cannot commit crime in Person County and not be prosecuted to the fullest. And decent people will appreciate that.
Sheriff Jones.
Repeat offenders are definitely a issue that we actually deal with. It's sad to say, but most of the time, if I could afford to do it, or if we had enough positions, I'd start every one of my officers in jail because they get to learn who they're going to deal with pretty much the rest of their career. I agree with the punishing somebody so they don't reoffend. My hands are tied. Mr. Bratcher's hands are tied. We have structured sentencing. There's only certain, it actually always goes all the way up to the legislation to actually change to be able to stop some of this. Some of the repeat offenders can be stopped by getting help that they need to get away from drugs, that commit different crimes. This could be done many different ways. There's a bunch of youth here today, and if you have ever heard of teen court, but if you was to get in trouble, it could be a criminal charge, but in lieu of doing a criminal charge and having it affect the rest of your life, there's a thing that they're doing in the courts, is teen court, and you actually go through and it's a mock trial where you actually, the one that's actually charged may become the judge at some point in time, actually presiding over a court just like it would be in a real court session. But at the end of it, if you successfully complete it, then you don't have a record. We hope that you learn from that, to keep you away, from being a repeat offender. It is a main problem. People do commit crimes over and over and over, and it's sad to say, but like I say, we present the cases that we have, and we've had a great working relationship with the DA's office, and we are beginning to send more and more people to prison to get long sentences of time, and as doing that, our crime rate is falling in Person County. It is down 20% over the last few years, and that's we want to keep it going that way, and to make Person County a much safer place for us to live and work.
And now we'll move to County Commissioner. How do you plan to increase environmental safety due to the recent coal ash spill and having 2 power plants in the county? We will begin with Mr. Kendrick.
If you don't know, I work for Duke Energy, and I really don't have a plan for coal ash spills because right now we have rules in place that are set by DENR and the EPA. Let's see if we can fix this. Those rules that are in place are enforced by the state. We don't need county commissioners to come in, muddy up the waters and try to make more rules on top of the rules that we already have. The coal ash spill that we had in the Dan River could have been avoided. When the coal ash pond was built at the Eaton plant, it was built incorrectly. There weren't any standards on how to build coal ash ponds when the pond was built. They ran a storm water pipe through the middle of the pond, and over years, that storm water pipe started breaking down. Duke probably should have known that. Duke probably should have went in and fixed that, but it didn't happen. We had the spill. Duke Energy went in, cleaned it up, and everything is working fine now. We've got the recent coal ash legislation that's been released. Duke has agreed to do the things that the state has asked them to do, and over the next 10 years, 12 years, they will clean up the coal ash ponds. But as far as us as county commissioners making rules on top of rules that are already there, I don't think we need any. It would be a feel-good situation. Tracy could go in and say he provided rules and regulations on coal ash, but it wouldn't do anything to overlap the rules that we already have in place. As far as the two plants that we have here in Person County, we need to make sure that we don't cast too many stones at Duke Energy. They provide jobs, they provide tax base, and they provide workers to come into our county and spend money. So it's easy to point at a corporation that has an environmental issue and say we need to shut that down. But how many of you guys remember last winter when we had all of the ice and freezing rain? A lot of you remember that. 70% of your power generation came from coal-fired plants. Duke Energy runs their nuclear plants at full steam, and they're running their gas-fired plants at full steam because that's the most efficient and cost-effective method to use today. Gas is cheap and nuclear is cheap. Coal ash stations can be up and running within an hour, okay? So they're base load generation, and those plants are easy to start up and get you electricity when you need it. Thank you.
Mr. Long will be next.
Ms. Clayton, after hearing from our two sheriff candidates and the DA, I'm just glad you didn't ask the question what mistakes I'd made. That is a very good question. Actually, we have 3 power plants in Person County. I would like to remind you that Duke Energy, with its HYCO and Mayo facilities and Capital Power, are vital, important, and good corporate citizens for Person County, and I agree with you, Mr. Kennedy. They provide good jobs for our citizens. They support our tax base, and they are very involved in supporting our community. In turn, we should continue to support Duke Energy in doing the right thing as they have promised the citizens of Person County. And I believe Duke will do the right thing. It's in their best interest to do so. I also believe we should be diligent in working and having meaningful input with the State Environmental Management Committee to see that we have the best management practices in place and to ensure that the North Carolina Department of Environment and Natural Resources are following proper procedure and protocol. Reasonable, responsible, and accountable. Our federal agency, the EPA, is yet to rule on coal ash. In fact, they are very overdue in determining if coal ash will even be classified as toxic or not. And until that is settled, it will be difficult to move ahead on the coal ash issue.
Mr. Puryear.
First of all, we need to keep a strong partnership with Duke Energy. I've spoken to many Duke officials, and they have earned my confidence that they are on guard and there are plenty of guidelines and regulations to prevent a spill in Person County. said, we better watch what stones we throw. Duke is one of the largest employers, and they represent a large portion of our tax base. We must maintain a strong relationship with them because if those two plants ever close, that's going to be a very catastrophic day for this county. And many people don't realize that. And we talk about economic development. That should be a big plan, what to do in the event, because those plants, I hope they last forever. But there may come a time when they're not going to be there. We talk about the coal ash that was possibly coming to our landfill. We had a resolution that was passed several months ago. I voted for it, but it was meaningless. It had no power to it. If you want to control what coal ash or what is going to our landfill, you have to negotiate a new contract with the landfill, Republic Waste Services. That comes up in 2017. We have a very safe landfill, a Subtitle D landfill, if it was ever put there. But the main point, if you want to control what goes in there, coal ash, you've got to step up to the plate and negotiate with them. Because every time, every day, every second that we get closer to 2017, even though we have several one-year options after that, the ball is in their court. And if I'm reelected, I will make that a top priority to make sure that Person County gets the best benefit of a new contract with Public Waste Services, because I want that contract to work for Person County. Thank you.
And lastly, Mr. Torian.
There was so much talk of Duke Energy, I had to reread the question. Looks like it says, how do you plan to increase environmental safety due to recent coal ash spill and having 2 power plants in our county? And I took that a completely different way, because the biggest impact that these coal ash spills have had on our county is, as Mr. Courier said, what is going into the landfill. I think a big step's already been taken in that direction, and that is a good step's already been taken, and that's the formation of the Environmental Issues Committee, which is a group of individuals from each township in Person County. Myself and Donald are on that board. One of our goals is to keep the county abreast of the environmental issues that could be impacting our county, that are impacting our county right now. And personally, I feel like if that group had been in existence 10 years ago, we may not even have a landfill here in this county. And we certainly would have known about the potential for coal ash being taken to the landfill several years ago. So I'm happy that that group is formed, and I'm happy to be a part of it. On the power plant issue, I think Duke Energy's made great strides as far as the emissions coming from their power plants, because to me, again, as far as that question goes, that was how I took it. That's the greatest environmental impact that Duke Energy is having on this county right now. The only way to truly address the coal ash issue in general is to move towards renewable energy. And a lot of people have said we have 2 power plants here, we have 3 power plants here. We actually have, 9, because we have the 3 coal ash plants and we have 6 solar parks. A lot of us only see, the one on 501, but overall we have 6. And I'm proud of them. I think we should all be proud of that, and I think that's the direction that we need to be moving towards. And I think we need to have renewable energy as a part of our county's brand.
We will now move on to the candidates for State House of Representatives. We'll start with Mr. Jeffers and then move on to Mr. Yarborough. North Carolina's unemployment rate is currently 6.8%. How are you going to create jobs for North Carolinians?
Thank you. As president, immediate past president now, but as president of the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, you get the privilege of picking your initiatives for that year that you want the state and all 100 counties to concentrate on. And I chose economic development because I understood how important it was not only to Person County, but to the state in a whole. Because right now we see a lot of jobs going away from our rural areas and going around the urban areas. You see a lot of jobs, a lot of companies going to Cary, Raleigh, and Charlotte, and very few coming this way in the rural areas. Right now we send 46%, almost 46% of our citizens across the line every day to work outside the county. What I feel that Person County needs is an identity. And that means we know we used to be textile, we know we used to be this, we know we used to be that, but what do we want to be for the future? Currently, right now, a lot of our jobs in the county are tied very closely to either the automobile industry, like GKN, or they're tied to the housing, like LP and GP. So when we saw everything that happened with the recession, the housing area got hit hard, and we know what happened with all the big-time automobile dealers. They got hit, so Person County got hit hard. Right now, we need to know what do we want to be for the future, and we need to work with schools like RCS, Person High School, and PCC to train our citizens for the jobs that we're going to attract. There's no need of trying to attract the industry to come to Person County that we're not training Person County citizens to get those jobs. Because all we're doing then is providing jobs for someone else, and if we train our students and our children and the people here for jobs we're not attracting, all we're doing then is training them to leave. And so I think that the first thing we need to do is come up with a serious strategic plan to see where we want this county to go and concentrate on that and involve our schools and PCC with that.
After the recession, North Carolina had one of the highest unemployment rates in the nation. Then the Republicans took over, they lowered taxes, they cut some of the regulations, and the drop in unemployment was one of the fastest in the nation. Unfortunately, we have not seen that up here. And that's what I want to go work on. I want to go to Raleigh, and I want to work with the leaders in Raleigh to bring some of those resources that are in Raleigh back here to Person County. The fact of the matter is, the power is controlled in Raleigh by the Republican Party. If a Democrat is elected to this seat, we will not get those resources. We will not even be at the table with those resources. Small businesses create 80% of the jobs in our economy. As a small businessman, I know what we need to help small businesses thrive and to create jobs here, which is the most important thing that we need in our community. We also have to get rid of some of the regulations. This Falls Lake watershed rule that they put on us has got us paying for Raleigh to have cheap water, while we are not been proven to have caused the problem in the first place. I will work to see that that regulation is pulled back and that our people have an opportunity to develop the southern part of our district as well as the rest of it. Thank you.
We'll move forward to the state senate. A recent report concluded that North Carolina currently ranks 51st out of the 50 states and the District of Columbia. What would be your top 2 priorities to improve the state's ranking? And we'll start with Mr. Joubert and move on to Senator Woodard.
Thank you. I believe that question was taken from a report published by the High Point Enterprise regarding teacher pay. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Did a little research on my own, which I would encourage students, okay? Please don't be spoon-fed, do your own research, okay? Obviously, this would be directly related to jobs and the economy. We need more people back to work. This will only happen when unnecessary regulatory burdens are lifted from the backs of small businesses, reducing the cost of doing business, thereby allowing them to expand and hire more workers. Secondly, we have to take a serious look at hydraulic fracking as not only energy independence for North Carolina, but the next big job boom for putting many of our unemployed, underemployed into gainful employment and self-reliance. In other words, more taxpayers mean more money for doing more things, simply. Thank you so much.
The report cited in Anderson's question came from a national group called Wallet Hub. It's been reported in some local media. and they use 14 objective data to rate the best and worst places for teachers to live and have their career. So that was actually the study that was there. So they're evaluating, they're telling teachers where to go work. Sadly, North Carolina ranked 51st behind all of our other states as well as the District of Columbia. So that's the issue we've got, is that we're the worst state now for teachers to come and make their career. It's beyond just pay. We've heard a lot about that in this election cycle, and that's certainly one of the questions that's before us. But I would suggest to you, beyond pay, it's also the resources that we give our teachers. When you see cuts to the education budget all across the board, you're finding that our teachers are struggling a great deal. When the social studies teacher at Bartlett Yancey High School has 36 students in his class this year and 16 textbooks, that's demoralizing to what he has to do with his career. And he can't let his students take those textbooks home. When we cut $3.3 million out of the state school bus budget this year, we're making school buses drive now over 200,000 miles before they can be replaced. We're forcing local school boards to make very serious decisions about school transportation. I received an email from a parent in Union County a few weeks ago. The elementary school bus she puts her children on seats 3 and 4 students per seat. When these buses start breaking down, your school board's going to have to find ways to replace it. And where are they going to come? It's not to Raleigh. We've taken $3.3 million out. We've told them, we've turned the spigot off. They're going to have to come back to the county commissioners, and that's going to be your property taxes when we do things like that. We are under-resourcing our public school systems now. Pay's part of it, and don't get me wrong there. When we take the longevity pay out, when we take away credit for master's degrees. Oh, by the way, we were 51st in the wallet hub place of teachers to work. The number 5 state in the country was Virginia. And I think you all have seen the flight of teachers from Person County schools, being a border county. We average losing 20% of our teachers every year over the last 3 years out of the Person County schools. Think about that. If you lost 20% of your employees in your job each year, somebody would be demanding a change. And we need to make a change to make it better for our teachers to work.
Thank you. We will now enter into our second round of questions. So we will begin once again with Ms. Barker for Clerk of Court. Do you believe the percentage of fines and forfeitures going to support local schools should be increased?
Fines and forfeitures are rendered, well, court fines are rendered by judges. Let's talk about fines. Court cost is set by the legislature. Our court cost is one figure when you come to get to court with, let's say you have a speeding ticket. There is a court cost, and the judge has the option to fine you. State law says that fine goes to the school board, the local school board. Bond forfeitures or bonds are used to ensure someone's presence at court. That bond can be a secured bond by either cash, it can be secured by real property, or it can be secured by a professional bondsman. Should you fail to appear at the court session, the clerk's office issues, at the direct order of the judge, a bond forfeiture. That means the bond is forfeited, and there is a time period in which that person, the defendant, and or the person who signed the bond for that individual, to pay that bond to the clerk's office. Bond forfeitures are done based on the amounts, okay? The percentage is technically not a percentage, but in order to increase fines, the judges would need to make a fine each time that someone comes before them. And those fines range from $10 as high as $100, depending on the offense that they are charged with. So in my opinion, the percentage is not as much of a factor as just the fact that the judge will render his judgment and assess a fine. And so I believe that would require a change in statute if we were to do that. Judges certainly increase the amount of fines. However, we see more and more defendants coming to court who have the inability to pay. Again, let me reference again, poor economic times causes sometimes the crime rate to increase, which also means the crime rate and the defendants having no job have no ability to pay. So the only recourse that we sometimes have is the Division of Motor Vehicles on any kind of traffic matter is doing a civil revocation, which means if you fail to pay the court costs, then your license are suspended. If you fail to come to court on a restitution issue, then a show cause is issued by the judge. So we don't see an influx so much of bond forfeitures here in Person County, but we do see and have seen a decline in the fines. Thank you.
Now for Mr. Bradshaw for District Attorney again. Do you think the teen court program has been successful in reducing teen crime in Person County? Why or why not? What would you do to improve it?
Thank you. The short answer is yes, it's done a great job. Teen court has been an invaluable resource. In terms of improvement, it's just like anything else. We need more volunteers. We need more participants. We need more schools involved. The teen court is just one of several diversion programs that we have. Again, as the sheriff alluded to, those first offenders or that first offense that is relatively minor, they get an opportunity to go into this diversion program and go among peers and recognize and acknowledge what they did wrong and work themselves out of the situation. Similar to the texting while driving answer that I gave, I really believe going forward in our public schools and our charter schools and our private schools, we need to have a curriculum that is geared around criminal law. We need to have young people in 7th and 8th grade learning the law, like assault and what's a larceny and what's the consequences of possessing controlled substances, how a felony impacts your future. I really believe we need to get to our young people sooner so they can appreciate the consequences of their actions. But teen court is one shining example of a diversion program where we get a hold of young people, they get an opportunity to turn themselves around. Let's think of it as a community. We're all here tonight in a great, successful school. Over the last 3 years, the sheriff's leadership and Chief Boycher and myself, the public safety team we pulled together, we have become very effective in terms of investigating and prosecuting defendants. The state was losing 7 out of 10 jury trials when I took office. I've personally done over 100 jury trials in the last 3 years, and I've lost 3 cases. We have reestablished dominance in the courtroom, and we are sending the habitual offenders away. But that's not the end of the story. Now that we have reclaimed our streets and reclaimed our courthouse, we have to invest in our young people. The answer is not to continue to be really good at sending people to prison. We need to start with our younger generation and help them to make the right choices, to grow a generation of law-abiding young people who help as peers, like in teen court, to not commit crimes. Growing that younger, law-abiding generation is the key to a safe community. So we have laid out the sword. We have sent the message. If you're a habitual offender, you're going to go to prison. You're going to get caught and sent. But let's also reach out to our young people and say, it doesn't have to be that way. Let's all look after each other, work together, make good choices. Then, that's a success. Then, we're truly in a safe county. Because where you have a county where the majority of people, especially young people, are doing the right thing and are looking after each other, we would love not to have to prosecute as many people or investigate as many drug crimes and send as many people to prison. That's the ultimate sign of success. Thank you.
And now to the candidates running for sheriff. How big of a problem is texting and driving in Person County, and what do you plan to do to make it better? We'll begin with Sheriff Jones and then go to Mr. Brooks.
I want to start off by saying thank God we don't live in Johnston County. Any of you watch the news, how many teenagers are dying in Johnston County? They have a tremendous law enforcement there as well, but like to be, they have more issues with this type of crime. Texting and driving is a very big issue. We go down the roads every day and we see people doing it. This is something we're going to need help with our legislators in the General Assembly. When this law was enacted into effect, all we need to stop a vehicle is reasonable suspicion. And we don't have to have probable cause. It's one less step. At the beginning, when this law was enacted, we could have stopped the vehicle based on what we saw, knowing that they was probably texting, would have been able to took that phone and looked at it and could have looked at the date and time to confirm if they were or were they not texting while they were driving. Well, this law changed right after this happened, and now it takes us getting a search warrant to be able to go into that phone. So the law that they put in effect for us to enforce is now, the other laws have changed to work against us. I do think that we need to see about correcting that. We do many initiatives with Governor's Highway Safety Program. We have to lean on grant funds to be able to have equipment and do different things to support, what we're not being able to get through the county. One of the initiatives we took this year was to make our highways safer. Y'all see a lot of checkpoints going on in different places of the county. The reason we're doing this is just for this purpose. Check the people that are wearing the seat belts, check the people that are texting while driving, checking for people that are actually driving under the influence. So we're doing that, and like I say, we are very fortunate. We've had a couple of fatalities here, but thank goodness our numbers are way less than some of our surrounding counties.
I'm on the outside looking in at this point. But by your help and your vote, I'll be inside come November 5th. So I don't really know the stats of the Texans, but I read the newspaper, and I don't really see, I think for the most part our teenagers are pretty much being responsible, because I haven't seen or recall a fatality in this county from teenage texting. If so, it's beyond me. But we do need to educate. That's a serious problem across the state and all. And we do need to pay close attention. Parents at home, talk to your children. Tell them about the danger of texting. Because sometimes the teenage mind, we all been young, we just do sometimes just dumb stuff. That's the bottom line. So if at home we can help address this problem, teaching them the danger of texting and driving, letting them watch programs or movies that you can rent or buy, showing what texting and driving can cause. It can damage other people, yourself, and cause a lot of hardship throughout the country. That's the bottom line. I noticed Mr. Jones say we are working on a lot of checkpoint stopping and doing. I feel personally different the way he feels about it. I think that our highway patrol do a good job, and our deputies who are not trained as highway patrolmen, they are having too much ability to stop and to deal with the public outside. That to me is a problem. Looking at it from the outside of it and experiencing, I get more calls probably than Mr. Jones gets. People complain about what's happening, what's going on with the deputies. If you have anybody that's not trained in speed, not trained in areas to do a job, they're not going to be as good at it. We have a real good highway patrol system here. I'm saying to the public, to the parents, teach the children, make them aware of texting and driving and the danger of it. Let's spend our resources in the sheriff department tracking down people breaking in people's houses, destructing people's property, bringing them to justice, versus worrying about somebody at a checkpoint. Eventually, if we would spend the money doing that, we would be in a lot better shape. We wouldn't have as many people. I've checked the FBI reports. Crime in Person County per 1,000 people is twice as high as it is in all 99 counties around the state. That doesn't make sense when we have a sheriff that's doing a good job, when we have a prosecutor sending people away. Yes, I'm a person who believes in stiffer punishment. I believe that if we will focus on the real issues, and that's the hundreds of break-ins we're having every year, we'll get more done, and let our parents start at home teaching their children about texting and driving, make it okay with them. The teenagers take the phones away from them. That's what I do with my children. Well, I did it with my children. Thank you very much.
And now the candidates running for county commissioner. What would you do to provide more healthy forms of recreation and entertainment for teens? And we'll begin with Mr. Torian.
Well, I think the obvious answer to this question is to get the rec center built that we voted for in 2008. But you know, I think another thing we need to look at is we have several different pools in this community already. And I think in some sense they need to be brought out of the shadows because, I mean, people move here and a lot of people don't even realize that we have several pools here. A lot of young people don't realize that we have several pools here that are private. And for many different reasons, people don't go to them. Some people have said that it's race, could be part of the issue, but they need to be brought out of the shadows. People need to know they're here. Beyond those types of things, rec center, pools, we got to be honest about what teens like to do. Teens like to hang out and like to spend their money and like to spend their parents' money. So kids walking around Walmart, that's not unique to Roxboro. In Durham, they're walking around the mall. In Raleigh, they're walking around the mall. So that's just what teenagers do. So I'd say let's give them some more places to go. Let's invest in revitalizing Uptown Roxboro so they'll have places to go, businesses to go to that don't close at 6 o'clock at night. Let's find some retail partners. Let's find some retail partners for Palace Point out on 501. Another place for them to hang out. And just remember that teenagers are almost adults. So what they're doing at 18, they're creating habits that are going to continue when they're 25, looking for a place to live. So if they were hanging out in Raleigh and Durham at 18, they're going to be looking for an apartment to live in Raleigh or Durham when they're 25. So just keep that in mind when it comes to recreation for teens.
Mr. Puryear, already up there.
You my turn was coming. I was anxious. Well, first off, we need to listen to our teens. Earlier this year, we appointed a. I'm having trouble hearing. Okay, Bill. All right. Can you hear me? I don't know if you get close to the mic. Okay. First off, we need to listen to our teens. Earlier this year, we had consulted a committee, a teenage advisory committee, which I proudly serve on. And when we met, they have a lot of great ideas, a lot of bright young minds. And sometimes when you get older, you forget about these great ideas that teenagers would have. But we need to make sure that we're listening to them, listening to what they want, but also the county must foster an environment to where more businesses like Palace Point and the Bullpen can prosper. I believe in free enterprise, and I think for new businesses that can attract teens is a great thing. But that goes back to our economic development of how we're improving the county to create businesses. How easy are we making it, business owners wanting to come to Person County? If you want to relocate a business in the southern part of the county right now, you're going to have a pretty hard time with the watershed issue if you're constructing a new building. So we need to, number one, make sure that we're fostering a good sense of economy for the young teens, but also listen to their opinions, and most of all, embrace what they say, because sometimes they have some very good points, and all it takes is one ear to hear it. Thank you.
Mr. Long.
Thank you, Ms. Clayton. A new senior and rec center, Roxboro Little Big League Sportsplex, soccer and lacrosse fields, and new water sports activities for Mayo Park. I serve as chairman of the Person County Recreation and Parks Advisory Committee. On the Senior and Rec Center, we have an opportunity to make Person County the best place to live and raise a family, or perhaps one of the worst. It is our choice. Every county around Person County has a public pool, senior, and rec center, but not here, not in Person County. Let us provide a safe place for our youth and our seniors, providing our young people a love of recreation and of self, and providing our seniors with a safe place to exercise both the body and the mind, providing cardiovascular training for our seniors and swim activities for our schools. Roxboro Little League and the Sportsplex. Roxboro Little League has recently expressed a desire to request the Person County Recreation Department to acquire their facility, possibly through grants from the North Carolina Recreation Trust Fund. What a wonderful opportunity this could be for our youth in Person County to have multiple baseball and softball fields on one property and provide the economic development opportunities to have tourism dollars generated from tournament activities here in Person County instead of neighboring counties. Recently, the Tourism Development Authority awarded funds to the Mayo Park to purchase new surfboards to have new and additional water sports activities in Mayo Park. Thank you.
And last but not least, Mr. Kendrick.
Currently, we have in our county a arts and parks facility and a good group of people that run those things. There are lots of things that we can do for Person County, but some other people within our county decided that they wanted to spend $2.3 million on a recycle facility. So it shows you the pecking order of how our seniors rank and how our youth rank. So we could have used that $2.3 million to help construct a senior center. We could have used that $2.3 million to enhance programs and bring things into the county for our youth. But it didn't rank high enough in the pecking order. So when you go out and vote this fall, think about where you are in that pecking order. Are you up here with the recycle center and $2.3 million? Or are you down here with the seniors and the youth? Thank you.
Now our question for State House of Representatives. Do you think North Carolina should raise the minimum dropout age to 18? Why or why not? And we'll begin with Mr. Yarborough.
We want everyone to get an education. We all know how important that is. But setting an arbitrary age for dropouts is not the answer to that problem. What we have to do is find a way to educate all of our children for all of the different opportunities that are out there in the world. And charter schools are a good example of how we can get started with that. There's opportunities within the charter school program to develop all kinds of schools. They will teach people in the trades, as well as college prep, and in business startups. So setting an arbitrary age for dropouts is not really gonna solve our dropout problem, and frankly, some kids just aren't intended to go to college. The funding in education has been going up steadily. Over the last 4 years, we've increased it by over $1 billion. The teacher pay was the top front and center this year. Now they're talking about textbooks. We don't have any textbooks. My kid doesn't have any textbooks because she uses a laptop computer. Her friends over at Northern Middle School don't use textbooks either. They use laptop computers. So we have to continue to work on education, but the answer is not just throwing more and more money at it. It's coming up with new policies that work. And this school is a great example of a policy that is working. I believe that this school has been such an asset to our community in that it has also caused the regular public schools to have stepped up their game, to answer to the parents, and to increase the educational opportunities for every child in our county. Thank you.
Yes, I do support raising the dropout age. Dozens of studies have shown that kids who drop out are at much higher risk of incarceration, teen pregnancy, and drug use. $320 billion of economic potential is lost each year as a result of students dropping out. The number of states with a dropout age of 16 will fall to 20 in the 2015 to 16 school year when Kentucky and Maryland raise their ages. According to the Colorado-based Education Commission of the states, all other states now require students to stay in school until either age 17 or 18, including every bordering state to North Carolina. The days of dropping out of school and getting a job tomorrow in the textile factory are gone. Many of you all remember when CNA was here, and you probably could graduate there, go get a job, see your dad there, and your granddad getting ready to retire. Well, those days are gone. The jobs that the industries that we're bringing in now require a higher skilled worker. And the only way you're going to get that is through education. And I, too, like my opponent, believe that this school has been great for our community. And I think that the traditional public schools can learn from them, and you all can learn from the traditional public schools. We're all in this together. This is not a cookie-cutter design. Everybody can learn from everybody.
And now the final question for those running for the state senate. Do you see a need to change the funding allocation method for charter schools? Also, do you support charter schools receiving lottery funding? We'll start with Senator Woodard.
On those two questions, yes and not yet. We do need to look at the funding allocation for charter schools. We're going to need to look at it within the constraints of the budget that we have, particularly over the next biennium. We've seen projections that we're going to be $650 million short in revenue as we finish this biennium. Our legislative fiscal staff is projecting we may have a $1.3 billion shortfall in the 15-17 biennium. So any change in the funding allocation is going to have to be kept in the context of the revenue shortfalls. But yeah, I would support that. I served on the board of Voyager Academy. Many of you are familiar with Voyager Academy in Northern Durham for 3 years. I was a founding board member there and understand the formula very well and the funding scheme for our charter schools, and we need to look at that. The lottery funding question is a little more complicated because I got to tell you honestly, I don't believe the General Assembly has done a real good job of allocating lottery funds since the time we've been collecting those funds. There were plans originally for it to be capital. Then when budgets got tight, we started dipping into it. And then this year, somebody saw an interesting program for iPads in the Mooresville school district. And then all of a sudden, we started taking hundreds of thousands of dollars out of the lottery funds to give kids iPads in counties where they didn't have internet connections. So we've got to be very careful about the lottery funds. Is it going to be for capital use by our charter schools? Is it going to be for instruction? Is it going to be for support? So we've got to study it very, very carefully before we turn on the lottery funds.
I'd like to reiterate the statement that Senator Woodard made about limited resources. Sometimes well, let me back up a little bit. How many of you ever heard your parents say, money does not grow on trees? Okay? Then where does money come from? So we expect that our elected officials should be fiscally responsible. And when they show responsibility, they get criticized But I believe the General Assembly has done a fine job to get us back on the path of economic recovery. Enough said about that. That's kind of off the subject. But let me address the question at hand. Do you need to see a change in the funding allocation method for charter schools? Absolutely not. Because I believe that what charter schools is a good picture of is that now our students have options. When it comes to the government monopoly, one-size-fit-all public school model, which is basically a broken system, it is refreshing to see students like yourself in a charter school situation, and might I add, too, that I am all in favor of the voucher program. Now, should we use lottery funds? Do you recall what the lottery, how it was first sold to the public? That it was going to be used for what? Education. So why is there a problem? Well, there shouldn't be. If there are lottery funds, it should be used for education. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for coming. We had a very successful evening, and we would like to thank all of the candidates for showing their perspective on many events. I think Mr. Bryant is going to come up and take it away now.
Just to echo what Anderson was saying, and to thank you for our local media for coming out covering, our school media for coming out covering, for all of our audience for coming out supporting RCS's first Future Voters Forum. A special thank you to our communications class and student council for putting on the event. They've done an excellent job. Let's give them a hand. Also, a special thanks to our candidates. And at this time, what we're going to do is allow them to go upstairs, and you guys will. Oh, I'm so sorry. 1 minute wrap up, and then they will go upstairs.
So we'll begin with Mr. Bratcher, I'm assuming. Then here we are.
Y'all give Anderson a big hand. Isn't she great? Don't start the clock yet. She told me right before we started, she said, I'm nervous. I said, what you got nervous about? We're not going to ask you questions. But she has done a fantastic job, and this has been a wonderful evening. But I'd like to leave you with this one thought, this one sobering thought. All these folks up here who have offered themselves up for service, and all the young adults that have pulled this together to support the voting part of our county, electing our elected officials, let us not forget in this time of gathering a very civil debate among great folks with difference of opinions. That halfway across the world, there are your brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, cousins at arms, flying combat missions over Iraq and Syria, on ships, protecting us so that we can be here tonight having this debate. This is a call to service for all the young people out there that are listening. We have this freedom because men and women have gone out there and are tonight sacrificing to protect America from people that want to destroy us. They want to take away your freedom to speak, to kill you because of your religion. Our forefathers have invested so much their lives so that we could be here tonight. So after you talk with the folks upstairs and you go home tonight, I ask all of you to pray that God will continue to protect and bless this country. And I call you young folks to service, to invest and protect this country so that we can continue to have this liberty when you have children or grandchildren that are up here running for office. Thank you very much.
Like in class, I was talking. Thank you all for taking this opportunity to come out tonight. It has been my honor to share some of my thoughts and ideas about our campaign. I asked for your vote on November 4th. You know, when I won County Commissioner in 2008, I immediately rolled my sleeves up and I went to work for you all, and that's what I'm offering you to do for you in Raleigh. It's not about what party you belong to, who's in power, or who's ruling. I'm not asking you to send me to Raleigh to try to take back the legislature, to rule, or to be in power. I'm asking you to send me to Raleigh to do what I've done here, and that's go to work for you. Thank you.
Can we pause before starting the clock? I wanted to do something. Can I have the first row stand up? And the second row? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 13. One more person.
Ms. Rand, that's you.
I'm just trying to give you a bit, just one more person. Clay talked about how important it was for everybody to get out and vote. I'm just giving you a visual because the reason I'm here is because of 14 votes. There was a recount after the election in May between me and Commissioner Blaylock. 27 votes separated us. If 14 people had voted the other way, it would have swung the election. That's how important, you can sit down. That's how important your vote is. Those 14 people could change who's standing here right now. And in November, it could be 14, it could be 5, it could be less than that, but your vote is gonna matter. It's gonna matter who sits on county commissioners, it's gonna matter who sits in the state senate, it's gonna matter who sits in the state house. So get out and vote. I'm not telling you who to vote for, I hope you vote for me. But, but get out and vote, that's what matters.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here tonight. It's been an honor. And I must reiterate what some of my friends here have said. It is very important to get out and vote. You notice tonight, these candidates have conducted themselves in an honorable way. You go home tonight and you'll see 1,500 commercials, derogatory commercials. You're not going to see that with these people. And I want to encourage young people to get out and serve your county, your state. You can see it can be done in a positive way. Sure, we may not have all agree on things, but it's very important that you take the time to serve your community. Maybe not in a way running for election, but you may need to give back to your community because your community has given to you. I just want to thank you so much. It's so nice and refreshing to be at something this positive, and I appreciate, again, being involved. Thank you.
Again, I'd like to thank the community school for hosting this event, and it has been an honor and privilege to serve as your county commissioner for this past 8 years. People say, why do you want to run for county commissioner? I've been to your meetings. There's a lot of disagreement, a lot of heckling, yelling, criticism. Why do you want to be up there? Why do you want to continue subjecting yourself to that? It's because I love my county. And anyone that runs for any office, especially county commissioner, loves their county. Tracy, Donald, Jason, we all love our county. And I look forward to continuing. This forum was a fresh breath of fresh air. And I hope the other forums are just like this. You've done an outstanding job with this. And I really want to thank you. And we'll be upstairs to talk about other issues. But again, this is a very critical election. But I ask for your vote. And I want to wish all the other candidates best of luck to them as well. Thank you.
I commend the school for doing a wonderful job for all the candidates and the people abroad. I say to you very much. I've always said if we must involve our children, this is the only way tomorrow can come, is if the future is protected. And with that being said, I say to you, if I'm elected in office, what I'm going to do, I'm going to, Mr. Jones, we have a lot of different opinions, and I'm going to stop a lot of things that he is doing. I'm going to do a lot of things. I'm going to stop a lot of things that I see that he is doing now, and I'm going to do a lot of things that he's not doing now. You'll hear about it a little bit later on. I'm going to say to you, if I'm elected, I have two main things in goal, And one is that I'm going to donate $10,000 of my earnings every year that I'm in office to the elementary schools in Person County. And I'm going to give 5 $1,000 scholarships to Person Senior High School every single year I'm in office. In the event that the person lives in Person County, graduates from Person Senior High School, and continues education in North Carolina, whether it be 1 year, it'll be a 2-year, 4-year, or a technical college. So this is about me. It's about the future. It's not about me. And I'm going to make the people proud of me if they put me in this office. And I'm going to continue to search down the people that's breaking in our properties and destructing our properties and leaving us with our hands open, and nobody's giving us the answer. I'm telling you, my daughter's in med school, #1 in her class forever. I've always studied and practiced to be the very best at whatever you are. Today I'm a master mechanic. My son, which you probably never heard talk of, he's an NFL football player, played with the Seattle Seahawks. And personally, I know you're not heard of it, but thank you very much.
I am indeed honored to be here tonight. I want to thank Roxboro Community School for inviting me here. And I really like the sound of that, Roxboro Community. I think part of what has been lost in the public school system is community. We have lost our community connection with public schools, and I think it's time that we get it back. And what I'm proposing is that parents and teachers become part of the policy building and decision making in the education system. Okay, they have been shut out, and I want to see that changed. I want to thank you so much for your example of school choice. If I can leave one thing with you tonight, is that without choice, you have no freedom. Thank you.
I want to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to us. I was not born here. I chose to live here, and I love that choice. I've raised my children here. I'm going to be buried here. I've been fortunate to have been married to a wonderful woman for 24 years here. And I want the best for this community because I do love this community. I think that we are losing some of our sense of community because so many of our people have to travel south to go to work. And we all know that almost all of our children have to go somewhere else to find work. I want to go to Raleigh, and I want to work hard for our community to try and bring some jobs back here so we can get back to a prosperous community that we had not that long ago. Thank you.
Again, I'm Donald Long, and thank you for coming out tonight. It's great to be back at Roxboro Community School. It's a wonderful place, and I really enjoyed tonight. And believe it or not, we all up here really are friends. We get along really well. We kind of kid one another all the time. And Kyle and I are neighbors. We got about a mile that separates us. We're on a long straight stretch, and he's on one end, and I'm on the other. But as we enter October, the days until the election day are dwindling fast, and the momentum of this campaign is building at a tremendous pace. All across Person County, citizens understand it's time to move forward. The momentum is building. A better way forward is building. Please join this movement and help me move our county forward. I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Again, I just would like to add my thanks to our student organizers, to the administration here at Roxboro Community School. You've heard us all say it. This is a wonderful place. I've enjoyed my numerous visits here and look forward to continuing to visit with you. You have a choice on November 4th for strong, effective, experienced leadership, and I respectfully ask for your vote to re-elect me to serve you in the North Carolina Senate. Thank you.
I too want to say thank you to everybody that's here. I want you to look around, and you probably know that we got 3 more forums to go to, and I will tell you this is by far the largest one I've ever been a part of, and that's thanks to this group that's here, and thank y'all for putting this on. I too just want to say how important it is to come out and vote November the 4th. Like I said, we have the privilege to vote, and if you don't vote, you really don't have any excuse to complain. So come out and vote and keep experience working for you. Please vote Dewey Jones for sheriff.
I guess y'all didn't notice since I was first that I was real nervous getting up here in front of you guys, and now that we've gotten to this point, I've actually calmed down a little bit, and I hate that it's over with. So I'll be upstairs. Come up and talk to me. 4 things that Tracy wants to do for Person County. I want to work on our taxes and make sure that we keep those at a level that we can all afford. I want to work on our security, giving money to our police and fire services so that they can take care of us. Number 3, I want to work on economic development and make sure that we get jobs, business, and everybody to work in Person County. And number 4, I want to work with our education system. So those are my 4 platform things. Once we take care of those 4 things, then we can go to the nice to have things. But until we take care of those, we don't need to be working on other things. I hope I'll get your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
There was one additional group that I neglected to recognize as well, and that is our educators. Thank you for your daily dedication and the investment that you place in our young people on a daily basis. Let's give them a hand. All right, this does, I will say, doesn't bring us to the end of the evening because our candidates will be upstairs, a little bit more intimate setting, and they could share in a one-on-one situation in terms of you asking them any other questions or follow-up questions to the things they addressed this evening. You guys are dismissed. You can go upstairs, and after they go upstairs, the audience is also dismissed to either exit out the doors to the front or either go upstairs. Thank you all again for coming.